live election updates. No, I'm kidding.
No,
We'll never do that.
No, I quit. I'm
I
out.
quit. I'm done. Shoot, I would quit my own stream. So we're actually missing 2 people tonight. For those, I know we'll have some people come in hopefully. But we got a couple people missing, and so we decided to do a little bit of a D&D Q&A, and instead of playing, because we want everybody to have that full immersion. So even though we may miss one person every once in a while, 2's kind of a lot for a five person party. Also,
It's almost half.
right. Also, the person that landed on the cliffhanger last week is one missing. So we're like, story wise, let's just chill tonight. So that's what we're going to do. I've got some questions I want to ask each of my players here, because I know most of the answers. I think. Maybe not, but those of you who watch, and we do have people that watch, may not know, and we also have some. We're going to have a master class in note taking by one of the master note takers, and that would be. I think my stream's frozen up.
It is, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
You're not, but
You guys are.
We are, yeah.
So here's a thought process on this.
Yeah.
With all the joke you made about the political coverage,
hey,
do you think it has a?
You're not frozen anymore.
What?
Sorry.
I'm saying, like, you're gonna have technical difficulties with getting some things to the stream.
Yeah, that's true. Because
everything's live.
everything's live.
Right.
Everything is live.
F it. We'll do it live.
Yeah, let's do it. It's really funny because I've got election results up on my computer.
Man,
Yeah, I've got them up on mine as well.
I don't want to know.
I'm just
I don't wanna
looking-
see.
I'm just looking at camera holders, so I can maybe order one.
Yours is probably better.
Mhm.
Yeah, than the election results. So.
Yeah,
I have
I've
my
got-
bookcase that I'm
I have
staring
them
at.
open in a tab. I've got my notes pulled up as the primary, though.
Good call. I'm going to pull up
Uh,
Barovia. These chips are so good. I'm sorry for eating in your all's ear.
And yet, the first night we played, he's like, "Yeah, make sure you mute your mic when you eat."
Are we
And here he
playing,
is,
sir?
crunch.
Are we playing?
Technically, yes.
No.
You're playing with my emotions, Ronnie, and that's what it is.
It's true. Okay, so I'm going to do this. We're just going to go whenever you want. Actually, I'll probably just call. But I've got some questions I got pulled up. So, first of all, Courtney is here, and she actually plays Kaylin.
Courtney, what are you holding?
An animal?
A penguin. A penguin.
I'm down. I'm cool with it.
I can go get the giant D20.
I mean, that would have been more on
That would be more on theme, but you
Hold
know.
on.
Yeah.
Hold on, I'll fix that. Wait,
Okay,
where's
so
my
I
mouse?
have I just clicked into my Google Drive, and Ronnie, it's got that thumbnail from the session that I had to record because of your work emergency.
Everything went crazy.
Like, I know that this is me in the thumbnail, but oh my god, it does not look like me.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
not even just because I shaved, but I mean, like, you want to talk about Clark Kent Superman effect here. I have my glasses on in this for this video, and it just,
I'll have to look at
it's
that.
fucking with my own mind.
So, Courtney now has all the stuffies. And
Yep.
so Courtney plays Kaylin, the elf,
Hi, well,
high elf,
High elf. Yes.
high elf monk, who is actually quite a bit of a bad woman in her own right. We've got Jacob, who plays Ellen Teal, the Winter Eladrin paladin. And then we've got Kenny, who plays Enoch, the human fighter, tanky tank.
Ooh.
Actually, I think we've got like 3 tanks in our party.
Mm-hmm.
And 1, 2, 3 casters, 3 tanks.
Who are you qualifying as a tank?
Right. I'm not a tank.
Oh, you are too. You've done some good damage, Kenny. Kalen is definitely tank-esque.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking that Ellentil is a tank.
Yeah, that was. I didn't know if you were qualifying Mulgar as a tank,
No, Mulgar is
just because of his sheer size.
yeah. Now he's a Goliath. He can take a hit, but we have yet to see him actually unleash.
Yeah.
His utility is door.
Door. Yeah.
So this is Q&A Tank Edition.
Tank edition. Tanky tank.
Ooh.
So I'll just open it up real quick. I'll just go Kenny. Kenny, when did you start first? When did you first start playing Dungeons and Dragons?
Ooh, I was 13, I think,
13. Okay.
in a library with AD&D 2nd Edition.
Nice.
When you
nice.
still had Thaco.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember Thaco. All
Yup.
too well. Jacob, what about you?
So, let's see, this December will be 4 years since I graduated college. Because, like, I know this is gonna make y'all feel really old, but it makes me feel old thinking that it's been 4 years. But I started in
did make you feel old
January
when you
after
said
I
something.
graduated. So, I mean, we're coming up on 4 years. I'd been wanting to play for a long time, but now that I had my own disposable income, I could afford books, and I was like, "Hey, Dad, you're gonna teach yourself how to DM again, and you're gonna run this."
Nice.
So we started with a family game, and that rapidly fell apart because two of the
family
4
games?
members of my family did not want to play.
Right.
And then transitioned into a game at Hypermind that I'm still playing with at least a percentage of that group.
I only know of 2 people that may not be there anymore.
So TJ is no longer there.
Yeah.
And then Seth is not part of that group anymore. I mean, he's still around and still plays
Yeah.
with us, but
Was
and
your
then we
brother
had
ever a part of that group?
he
Or was he
kind
more
of
in and
came
out?
and went as he saw fit.
Yeah.
He was not part of that original group, but I think he joined later on.
And for those of you who may not know, Hypermind is the LGS local game shop here in Burlington, North Carolina. And phenomenal little store. Not even, it's not a little store, it's a phenomenal store. Courtney,
Yes.
what about you? When did you first start playing?
I guess. Wow, has it really almost been 3 years, Jacob? Oh,
2.
only 2.
Yeah, we're
I
coming
don't
up on
know.
2 because
I had always said I was never going to get into D&D.
yeah, that's where she said she drew the nerd line.
And then there was one day with
It was Guild
I think it was
Masters.
when, yeah,
It's Guild
it was
Masters of
Ravnica.
Ravnica's release adventure. We didn't have enough to play, so I roped her in.
Right. I remember you DMing that.
I was forced to come in and play, so he could still run. And I thought after that, I was like, no, not gonna do it again. And then he was like, give it another shot. And so then I ended up joining the group, and I've been there ever since. So
Cool.
There was a chunk of time shortly thereafter where she would play even if I wasn't there because our Wednesday game took place during my swim practice.
Yeah.
So if I had, since I had swim practice, I couldn't be there. And instead of Courtney saying, "Oh, if my boyfriend's not there, I'm not gonna play," she
played.
still went and played.
So she said she would never play, but how many games do you play a week now?
4.
Yeah.
And actually, surprisingly, this week, none of the 4 games are actually happening.
That's true.
Like, we're doing this, but none of the 4 games have taken place this week, so it's kind of weird.
Well, like you guys, I started in high school in AD&D. So when I was in high school, there was still that nerd stigma that you kind of had to hide in the basement, where it's more like mainstream now. So my mom and dad, of course, they came out of the 80s satanic panic, and then they still have that stigma around it. And if you can hear my dogs.
Wait, it's not?
No. I'm sorry, Kenny. I lied to you to get you here. So they were like, well, what do you do? They kind of, had that same idea that, we all dressed up in black robes and lit candles and sat around in circles and chanted while playing D&D. And I was like, legitimately, you'll find a bunch of nerdy guys sitting around a house or a basement with a bunch of pizza boxes and empty soda cans. And that's, if we get through the game, that's, that's a good night without us being stupid and carrying on. And so they kind of just said, well, whatever. They knew I wasn't out sacrificing goats or anything, to the Dark Lord. So I
this time,
for then or ever. So I got into it then, kind of got out of it. Didn't really have anybody around me at the time that played, and then my introduction back into 5e was actually just jumping in with both feet and DMing. And one of the first games I ever DM'd was actually with Kenny and Heather, his wife. Yep. And that soon, we played one really good campaign that took 2 nights. It was only supposed to take 3 hours tops. But it took 2 separate sessions, and it was really fun. But that dissolved, and we've been trying to find a way to get Kenny into a game for a long time now. As far as that goes, I mean, it's kind of the same story. Just that yearning to learn something, except for Courtney. She didn't want to, and then she found out how fun it could be.
Well, when my first character given to me was a turtle monk, it was probably the coolest thing ever.
Hero on the
I have
house
a
show.
trident, so it is Lavinia, I believe. Let me look. My first ever character was actually made for me by Jacob's dad, so I could start playing. And
No, that wasn't your first character. That was your first full campaign character. You had a Wood Elf Ranger before that for the Wednesday game.
no,
Lavinia
that was after. I have Lavinia first, and then I have Leah Nightbreeze.
Hey.
I'm looking at my
She hugs her
penguins.
penguin. So I think everybody started out with a ranger at one time.
I've never played a ranger.
Really? My first character
Really?
was a ranger.
Nope.
And I just said that in the most West Virginian accent I could. I'm from West Virginia. I was like, a ranger.
The character that I started with when I was like, "Hey, Dad, you're gonna learn how to DM again," was a ranger. But then my first, when we actually started, when we went to Hypermind and started playing, was a druid. And once you go druid, you never go back. In my opinion, druids are hand down my favorite class to play.
Well,
a good wood elf druid, you're not gonna beat in my book.
I read all the Forgotten Realms books and all that stuff before I really started playing. Mm-hmm. So naturally, I, being the most inventive person ever when I first started playing, wanted to be a Drow Ranger who was a good person.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And Courtney
Drizzt-
doesn't get why that's funny.
Drizzt called. He wants his shit back.
Right, exactly. Now, Drizzt is a phenomenal character. Love that character.
Yes, he is.
Which is why I shouldn't have played him. And I will admit,
Right.
that was him. That was him. That was Drizzt. I was playing Drizzt. Only poorly and not as cool, you know. So, but yeah. So, like, Courtney, I've seen you play monks. I've seen Jacob play a lot of druids. Several druids. And Kenny, I've seen you play, well, now a cleric and a death cleric.
Fighter.
And a fighter.
Yeah.
So, when you play other games, what Kenny, what is your typical go-to class?
It depends on what the game is. Like for D&D, I love rogues. Like they're my go-to on that one. But for like Vampire the Masquerade, it just depends on the feel of the game or what I was feeling. So, like for something like that, Ventru would have been perfect. Social primary and then mental secondary.
Side note, real quick, I got to ask you a question on that. Do you think you could ever run a vampire game, Vampire the Masquerade game?
I can.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends on, do you want the old school rules or the new rules?
Well, what do you want? What do you think?
What I have is the old school rules, so I don't know much
What
about the
if
new school ones.
somebody had the 5e book and was willing to loan it to you? And we could do
The 5e book for Vampire?
Yeah, I think it's 5e. The newest one.
I can do it.
I bought it down in New Orleans when I went last year for work.
Okay.
And there was this cool little cafe there. I think it was called the D4 Cafe. I have a T-shirt. They're phenomenal. They're in New Orleans. Wonderful food, phenomenal desserts, and they have a place. It's a D&D place, but they have all kinds of different tabletop role playing games and different games. And then they have miniatures. They had the ship, the WizKids ship that you could borrow and use for your game. And they had all kinds of like miniatures and stuff like that you could borrow, and then they had a bunch of stuff for sale. Well, they had the Vampire book, Vampire the Masquerade book there, and I was like, well, I'm going to buy this eventually. So I
might as well do it there.
Yeah, I bought it from them just because I wanted to support them.
Right.
And just so if you're in New Orleans, look for the D4 Cafe. Hopefully they're still around. He was a really, really cool guy. He was really, really, really cool. But okay, side note, I want to talk to you about that. And maybe we could do like a Misfits and Miscreants one shot on that. They are still there, and they are 8228 Oak Street, New Orleans, Louisiana. They close at 7 p.m. Which is
their time.
Yeah, their time. We're on Eastern Standard here, and then they'll open at 11 tomorrow. So big shout out to them. But anyway, so rogues, okay. So Jacob, what about you? I think you kind of answered it, but
if you just kind of tell me, hey, I've already got a pre-existing party, you can be whatever you want, then I'm going to probably just jump straight into that Wood Elf Druid.
yeah,
Especially if you go, hey, you're starting at a higher level.
yes, okay.
I have played at least one adventure of every class except Cleric and Sorcerer and Warlock.
Okay. So you've never
So
played
I've
Warlock,
I've tried everything. Yeah, I've never played a Warlock.
Okay. Well, we'll have to get you to play a Warlock one day. All right. I think I know the answer for Courtney too. But I'm gonna let her answer this question.
So most of my characters are either a monk, a cleric, or a paladin.
Oh, I've never seen you play a paladin.
However, I have played a rogue. Actually, I'm playing a rogue now in one of the games.
Yeah.
I play a wizard in another game. I think I've played a druid and a fighter. I've played a warlock at a con.
Mm-hmm.
And I
She
will
was not
say
a fan.
I was not a fan, just because you only get limited spells and it's not a lot of spells.
Yeah, but if you play it right,
So-
you can get a lot of cantrips.
Yeah, but it was a pre-gen. So
We were
I had
also-
no
it was
choice.
They were
I was
pre-gen
connected
characters,
to somebody.
Oh.
and we were like level 14.
No.
Yeah.
Like, so she got dropped a warlock in her lap, having never played one before.
Yeah, I can see where that's a problem.
It was not my favorite. But no, if I get first choice, it's either going to be a monk, a paladin, or a cleric.
Yeah.
I will say I am really enjoying my wizard though. Even though I am a squishy character,
Yeah.
I can do a lot.
Yes.
So, I don't know. Might start playing more of those.
I have a player that plays in another campaign that we do at a friend's house, who plays. She loves gnomes. And the last two characters she's played have been gnomes, so she can name them Miss Gnomer. And
That was good.
yeah, and then some. I can't remember. What Miss Fortune is the new one.
Miss No Meaner.
She wanted Miss Nomer, and Miss Nomer tried to befriend a frog. She was one of those players that wants to befriend every single animal ever that they come across. So she tried to befriend this frog, and she basically kidnapped this frog because the roles did not agree with her. But she grabbed the frog and took it with her anyway. So she ran across this dwarf who was sleeping in the bed. So she goes, well, I want to wake him up. I'm going to put my frog on his face. So it freaked him out. He threw the frog, and I rolled for him to throw the frog, and he rolled a crit, a natural 20, and killed the frog.
No!
And I promise you, I don't do things to punish players like that. I don't like to kill animals in my campaign that, like innocent animals and stuff. But he straight up flattened that frog, squished it. But
That was so sad.
real quick, my favorite. I'm getting out of it, but my favorite has been warlocks lately. I like warlocks. I like working that.
I was gonna say, you play a warlock in my
I
campaign.
do. We play a Wednesday night campaign with Jacob, and I have a warlock. He's pretty tough, man. He can Misty Step and then Eldritch Blast you for 1d10 plus 4. 1d10 plus 4.
Yeah. And I think a big part of the reason that I like your warlock in that game is because the fates are your patron. Like, as you advance, that is going to get so broken.
Yeah. I've been looking at it. He's pretty tough. He's going to get so tough. But also, we're playing Odyssey of the Dragon Lord, so it's a lot of like Greek and Roman mythology, mostly Greek, right? Or it is just Greek mythology.
So it's a lot of Greco-Roman mythology influence, but it's got their own set of gods.
Yeah.
The fates do exist. The oracle exists. So I mean, like, they're very clear. Like, this is we picked this out.
Yeah.
And then I mean, it's very fun. I'm really glad that I spent the $70 on Kickstarter
Heck
for
yeah.
it.
the thing about him, my guy, is the way that I view him and the way he looks at it is that since the Fates are his patron, he has no patience for the gods.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not even his land, so these aren't even his gods. So he's like, I don't give a crap what they have to say. I get my powers from them anyway. So what do you have to offer me? So that's kind of like, when you asked me, I couldn't make it that night, and you're like, well, what's your vote on what to do? I said, burn it all down. Like, one of the things was destroy the god's temple, and I was like, torch it. Let's knock it down. And you're like, really?
Yeah, so
I'm like, yeah.
The last session we had a decision to make to appease this evil god.
Excuse me.
And their choices were basically sell 70 children into slavery.
Yep.
Cough up way more money than they had.
Yeah.
Burn down the temple of the gods. Or beg the gods to permanently weaken themselves in order to perform a miracle. It was, and I mean, the party spent 2 hours debating what they were gonna do, and Ronnie just came in and was like, "Burn it all down.
Burn it all
Just
down.
burn it. Torch it."
Yeah, torch them. It's just like one of those things. Like, what are you gonna do? Let's get it.
So did you treat it like Carthage and just burn it down?
I wanted to, but
No. The party ended up deciding to go with the miracle, in the idea that it would rally the people of the land to it would restore their faith in the gods, which may ultimately have some impact on how truly permanently weakened they are.
Oh my god.
Yeah. That concept of, from Greek mythology, of as long as people believe in them, they still exist.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
As far as like, your typical go-to kind of characters that you like to play, or classes, I should say. Well, let's go with this question I've got right here. What is the hardest part of playing for you D&D? What is the hardest part about it? And
Getting people to play.
good call.
Like that's poignant tonight. Do you mean in preparation to play, or
Just
like
the hardest
creating
part
a
for you.
character?
Is it the role play? Is it the preparation? Is it the creating a character? Is it deciding where to go after? You level your character up. Which way should you go? Should you multi-class? What's the hardest part about it?
Yeah, it would have to be the level progression on that, because there's so many options, especially now.
Yeah.
That you can you have the central idea, but eventually, like, hey, that's a good idea. I like this over here. Ooh, wait, over here.
Yeah.
So it's controlling character ADD, I guess.
Yeah.
On that, ooh, this would be cool. So, I think that's the hardest part.
Okay.
And getting people to show up and play.
Yeah. Life happens. Life happens.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
I would pick on him, damn it. That's what I do.
But so it's trust me, as a DM, you've known. I mean, I think all of us, you two, with the exception of Courtney, we've all DM'd.
Yep.
So we know that life does happen, but it is hard to keep a party together after a while. So that's why I'm excited to have you guys and not burn you out by just playing 2 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
I know it could get it can get boring with me, but no, hopefully not. But this campaign that we're doing right now, it does not get boring. It's actually, man, I love Curse of Strahd. But what about you, Jacob? What's the hardest part about playing D&D for you?
So it varies character to character.
Okay.
For me, because when I first started out, it was really simple. Charisma's the dump stat so that I could avoid roleplay.
Right.
And then now that I'm more comfortable with roleplay, as you guys have seen the last couple of weeks, I like to build characters now that are gonna be fun for me to roleplay. I think roleplay is gone from my least favorite piece to my most favorite piece. But I think the hardest part for me is when the party doesn't mesh well. Like when you've got that one loose cannon, who I'm not going to name names. We don't have one in this campaign.
No, we don't.
Yet.
But I think Courtney and Ronnie know who I'm referring to here. Who just is going to do whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
And is going to be less than truthful about dice rolls in order to make it happen.
I've had several people like that.
I do not. I mean, that's my one thing as a teacher, as an athlete. I do not abide cheating, and like I understand you've got people who are going to make the argument, well, it's a game, it's just so that I can have fun while I'm doing it. Well, you're taking the fun away from everybody else,
right?
So it's more, the hardest part for me is finding that group that you mesh well with,
right,
and maintaining that cohesion. Because
yes,
when you play together for so long, there starts to be a tension when people want to start branching out from their normal roles.
Yeah,
and toes get stepped on, and tension builds, and because you've been playing together so long, nobody wants to say anything about it. But it takes away from the overall enjoyment of the game.
Yes.
When you no longer have that cohesive group to play with.
Thankfully, we only ran into that twice. The first time I ever ran Curse of Strahd, which is a lot. You might think, oh my gosh, twice in one game. Yes. While I limited this to 5 players. I had originally limited it to 4, but Brittany wanted to play, and I said absolutely, but no more than 5, because I think there is something lost in a larger group with a campaign like this, because you lose that cohesion, you lose that even now that we're doing the pandemic version of D&D and doing it online. There's still a camaraderie with you guys, and I want you to keep that. That's why we have our Discord channel. We have a public Discord channel too, if you ever want to join in and holler at us. It's just Misfits and Miscreants, so come on in. You just go into the tavern and start chatting away. If you're mean, we'll kick you. But
literally, we will find you and kick you.
Oh, absolutely.
We're not going to remove you from the server. We're just going to come find you and kick you.
And you're not going to be able
steel-toed boots
to type in the server anymore, because Courtney is a monk in real life. But now, when I tell you, I had a couple of players like that. When I was running Curse of Strahd the first time, I was doing so in a public setting. We were at Hypermind, our local game shop, and you all had your game going on, and I was running games for the open public. And Dummy Me said, "Hey, let's try a whole campaign with people coming in and out." I think I was up to 12 players one day at my table trying to play one campaign. And I bled from the eyes and ears and nose. And had a bit of a conniption. But other than that, it was okay. But we had one player who liked to fudge dice rolls and edit his character on D&D Beyond in the middle of the game. And it wasn't until I caught him editing his character, and he'd roll these teeny tiny little dice. And he would roll them, and he would pick them up, and he would do that nice little flip. He'd like roll a natural 4, but then he would flip it around to a 17 or something. And I've been to Vegas. I know how these things go. And so I caught him and I asked him not to do it. And I gave him the 3 strike rule, which I've now gone down to 1 strike, and you're out. But I excused him from the table, and I haven't seen him since. And then the other one just had a bad attitude and was that loose cannon, who instead of playing chaotic neutral, he played chaotic stupid, and would try to steal off he tried to ruin everything just to sake of ruining everything.
Aw, that's my favorite alignment.
Chaotic neutral? You're not chaotic
Yeah.
stupid.
No, chaotic stupid. That's the Leroy Jenkins
That's
alignment.
fun. But you don't actively try to ruin every NPC relationship that's coming from here to there. And then after, he threw a conniption fit, or not, I shouldn't say this, threw a hissy fit about his character dying, and threw his dice and stuff. I excused him from the table, and we've really had pretty quiet, fun tables since then. I think they're like, oh, Ronnie's kind of hardcore. I'm like, well, no. I'm hardcore when you start stepping on other people's fun and trying to take advantage of me and the other people. So that's when I start, kind of losing my temper, because it's just a game. There are no real winners in D&D. I mean, you play to tell a story. I mean, if you want to win, play a video game. If you want the achievements and stuff like that, play a video game. There's nothing wrong with that. I play video games. I stream Among Us and all this other stuff. It's fun. But with D&D, it's a storytelling thing, and it's cooperative, and it's more based on it's more based on a community. So that's what bothers me. So, but yeah, that's kind of it. Don't be chaotic stupid. The hardest part.
Don't be the bad chaotic stupid.
Right, the bad chaotic stupid. Don't use chaotic as a blank check to do whatever you want.
Yeah, that's the big thing is, I've started seeing a lot more. I'm gonna play chaotic neutral because then I can say, oh yeah, I can just do whatever the heck I want.
Because that's what my character would do.
Yeah, that is my single most despised phrase as a DM. That's what my character would do. No, it's not.
Right.
That is what you as a player want your character to do, but that is not how you built them.
Right. Exactly. Okay, real quick, let's talk about Curse of Strahd real quick. First of all, I want to know how y'all are enjoying the campaign so far.
It's intriguing.
Oh.
I have to agree with that.
So I've played a lot of campaigns, and with mostly the same group. And hands down, this has been the most enjoyment straight out of the gate I've gotten. Whether that is because of the group we have, or because of you as the DM, Ronnie, how you're running it, or if it's just Curse of Strahd, I can't attest to that.
I think
My vote is it's Ronnie. Ronnie's a good DM.
I think
Yeah,
AC,
Ronnie.
That is true.
I think it's the group we have and the actual campaign. I am terrible.
Yeah, see, that's where I'm going to have to call shenanigans.
Okay.
Because I've played in enough of your one-shots to know that you're not terrible. I mean, if you're a good DM in a one-shot, that does not necessarily adjust to a campaign, but now having played in 4 sessions of a campaign with you, it's clear that it's not just a one-shot capability. You're not a one-and-done DM.
Well, thank
I mean,
you guys.
you've got that cohesion between sessions, bringing it back to the word of the day.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking of a different word, but obviously words are failing me now. But
Are you getting choked up?
a little bit.
It's
I love
okay.
you guys. It's okay. What's funny is they
Aw.
can't see me. Discord hates me. But
Shh. Ronnie's crying.
I am. They can see me, and I'm just laughing and eating bread right now. So, I did do
What kind of
the
bread?
heart symbol with my hands. Do what, Courtney?
What kind of bread?
Whatever Jimmy John's puts on their sandwiches.
Ooh.
I'm picking at the last part of my sandwich here. It's straight from work into this it can be a killer sometimes. But but I wouldn't do it for any other group. You guys are awesome, and Brittany and Tanner are awesome, and we miss them tonight, of course. Miss playing, but we miss them, and they'll be back though. They'll definitely be back.
That just means they both give us 5 gold apiece.
In real life.
I'm down for that. Yeah.
There's a 25% DM tax, right?
Nah.
But I'll cut it to 20 for you guys.
On a slightly different note, just a
Yeah.
piece of advice for anybody who's wanting to look to start playing D&D.
Yeah.
Especially if you're playing with people who you don't really know. Find a character that your character is going to bond with.
Yeah.
And just role play off of them. If you guys in this campaign, I've picked Mulgar as my person. That's why Mulgar and I, if I'm doing something, I'm telling Mulgar first. And it's because it's a lot easier to build that comfortability with roleplay in a smaller setting almost. Like, if you pay attention, or Ronnie, you've seen me play for long enough, both in-store and out-of-store.
Mm-hmm.
My roleplay is growing because of scenarios like that, where I would choose one person that I would roleplay with.
And you pick...
And like, in the first one-shot that I played with you, it was Elliot.
It was.
And his totem of the bear barbarian.
Yeah.
And for this campaign, it's Mulgar. But it's the baby steps to build that comfortability. And what you'll find is, I can't attest to whether or not Tanner and I would actually be good friends in real life because this is fully digital. But, like, Elliot and I are good friends. I've known Elliot since I was, 10. Because I started out as friends with Ian, and then Ian moved away and everything. But just through the store, I've gotten to know Elliot really well. And it builds out-of-game relationships through the in-game relationships.
Well, honestly, that's kind of why I picked you guys, because I know, of course, Jacob and Courtney know each other, and Brittany and Tanner know each other. And then Kenny, if you don't mind me saying, you kind of came to me and said, I feel like kind of like the odd man out. I'm like, no. Don't. Because the other four, they don't know each other.
Well, what I said was, it seems like they've played together before, so I'm the one that hasn't.
Right.
That's all.
And they hadn't. They
Well, you could have said that, so
I
it seemed like
I told you that. You know I told you that.
I know nothing.
No.
Nothing.
I didn't know your name was John.
My name's John.
Jon Snow. I get the reference.
Oh. Yeah, I watched.
I know what you're talking about. I don't know.
Courtney
I quit.
Doesn't
That's it.
like Game of Thrones.
I watched the first episode and then I turned it off.
Courtney has good reason for not liking Game of Thrones.
I will share that good reason not on stream.
I have issues with that as well. So, it's no problem. I've never read past the Red Wedding.
Right.
I can't.
See, I can almost handle the Red Wedding a little better than the first episode. I'll just say it. I mean, dude was having sex with his sister. And I was like, well, that's gross. I've never read these books. And I was like, well, I'm done. Because I was like, I don't know where this is going.
Yeah, I threw the first book, against the wall and wouldn't even touch it for weeks. Just
See, my experience is not even the books or the show.
It's roommates.
It's
Oh,
roommates
with no
yeah,
boundaries.
with the show.
Yeah.
But that happens.
Yeah, it does.
It's okay. It's okay.
Well,
We're
let's
all
talk
good.
about Curse of Strahd and no more about bad roommates. Because I've had a few of those in my time too, and I've probably been a bad roommate. Probably not as bad as some, but let's just put it that way. What do y'all have any questions for the DM for like anything that you may think that we have missed or anything like that? By the way, if you're looking at the
How many hit points does Strahd have?
Yeah.
if you want to ask me something that I can actually answer,
What's his armor class?
Jacob, we're gonna fight. By the way,
Have we been
Okay,
close to
all you
killing
said
him?
was something that you can answer. You are physically capable of answering those questions, Ronnie.
that's true. I am, but I will not. So if you look on our stream right now, I found something really cool. And I did this earlier, and I wanted to make sure it was showing up. I actually linked my D&D Beyond account with my Twitch account. And you can see on the left-hand side, there's a bar that has Enoch Jackson, Ellen Teal, Mulgar, Kalen, and then Elrin. If you hit the over button, and it has your...
Are you saying for me to go onto Twitch?
you can if you want.
Oh.
But it
Yeah.
has
I'm not seeing it on mobile, but
no, you'd have to go to the
Let me see
website. Yeah, but it has your character, their portraits, and their hit points, and it actually has it has your name in it there because you're a Twitch, I think, but it has your name there, Jacob, TARDIS pilot, and then it has maybe just be your D&D Beyond name. But I thought that was a cool little addition. So when we start playing again, people will be able to see each of you in your hit points and stuff as it goes along. Which none of you have
that's bizarre because it's wrong.
Well, it's because nobody's updated their D&D Beyond.
No. I'm talking about the username that it put for me is wrong.
Oh.
It doesn't have the D, and I just went to D&D Beyond and confirmed that I am not an idiot.
Huh.
Yeah, this has my username as Taurus Pilot 1130.
I didn't even notice that. Look at that. Well, we'll have to figure that out later. That's a little creepy. But hey, but yeah.
But yeah, that is really neat that that's there.
You can hover over them. If you click on them, it gives you their actual like armor class, quarterstaff.
Oh,
stuff
that's
like that.
cool.
Yeah. So you can look at their character sheet.
So they get to know our armor class, but we don't get to know Strahd's?
That's how it works, Bubby.
Man.
Okay, Kaylin, we got to get you a portrait here, honey.
Yeah, we do. She's just a silhouette.
I sent you a picture, Ronnie. Can you fix that?
Oh yeah. Well, no, because
Courtney,
it's
you have to add it to your D&D Beyond character.
Yeah.
Why can't he?
Oh, I can actually view your character sheet too from here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I gave somebody inspiration too, and I think that was you.
Me.
That was you. Yeah.
I have inspiration because
Oh
of
wait,
sleep.
I don't have inspiration.
Mulgar
I
has
have another
inspiration because of Entangle.
Right, but I gave you two inspiration. Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, that's pretty cool. D&D Beyond is pretty awesome for doing that. It works really well. I was really worried about how it would work, but it works really well. So like legit, do you have any questions about NPCs or anything like that you think I can answer? Things that have happened in the past or anything like that?
So I do have I did have a question, but now I can't remember what it was.
So if I had not been saved by Mulgar in the first session,
Right.
what would have happened?
Bad things. Honestly, that is something that I have to leave a little bit of mystery behind. but I will say this: Strahd does not do anything. It's not. I don't want to say. Strahd doesn't do anything without a purpose.
He's very calculated.
Yeah. So if he sees something, he looks at it, he makes a plan, and then tries to follow through with that. So I can't rightly tell you what would have happened, or anything like that. But there are, there are things that were going through Strahd's head at that moment that, not while the best, would not have ended up being the best for you or the group.
I have a question, not about Curse of Strahd, but in general.
Sure.
And I'm going to preface this with how I came up with my character idea. Ellen Teal came to me at 4 a.m. because I couldn't sleep. I was scrolling through TikTok and I saw a TikTok video and was like, now I want to build a character.
Right.
And I messaged Ronnie the next day and I was like, okay, so...
Thankfully not at 4 a.m.
Character idea. And we messaged back and forth and fleshed it out and put it together on D&D Beyond. And Ellen Teal has been sitting in my D&D Beyond created characters since May.
Yes.
Nice.
And so when Ronnie contacted me about Curse of Strahd, I was like, ooh!
Yeah. And it's a perfect... I know more about the character than most. And I will say, there are a lot of good things that are coming for this character. A lot of cool things. Yeah. But this is a really good introductory campaign for this character. Actually, I have a D4 in my hand. I keep dropping on the floor, so I need to put it down. All of your characters have seemed to mesh really well with this campaign. Whether it be the attitude, the personality, or just the or the class. You need somebody that's going to be the sword swinging, shield wielding guy. That's quick for action and doesn't really puts himself between the danger and others. You need the mysterious paladin who has a broadsword all of a sudden on her back.
Isn't it a great sword right now?
Great sword, sorry.
Yeah.
Get it right.
Well, broadsword, great sword. Same thing.
Yeah. I think Ronnie was in the store with me when I picked up my my Icewind Dale dice.
Yeah.
And I unboxed it and everything because I'm a child and I just got a new toy and I wanted to play with it.
Right. No.
And,
completely.
I look at the box and I go, this is the picture that I just sent you guys for my holy symbol.
And it didn't click with me until he told me that. I was like, huh, it completely is.
And so I guess my question is, how do you guys go about building your characters? Are you very strictly just I'm playing in a new game, so now I need to build a character, or one of the people that Courtney and Ronnie and I play with on Wednesdays has 500 characters built because he sits at work and just builds D&D characters all day long.
Who does that?
Ron.
Yeah. I thought you meant me.
I think Seth is probably that way too.
Yeah, Seth probably has a whole bunch, but I don't think he really uses D&D Beyond. He uses his own outside stuff.
I'm not gonna lie. I don't make characters unless I need a new character. And then I look at the books for a long time. And I'm like, oh, this looks cool. And so then I build it.
Yeah, so I have 26 characters in D&D Beyond.
I have 17.
I have.
I will say,
lot.
Kaylin is my current pride and joy.
Okay.
Because out of my 17 characters, she is the first one I made all by myself with no help, and I wrote her backstory.
I loved it. So
So
I have 118.
Ay. Now hold on.
I have
I
a
used
lot
to-
of NPCs in here.
Okay. How many of them, if you had to guess, are
actual
player
characters.
115. No, I'm kidding. I don't know. I have one that I play on Sundays sometimes when we play. His name is Zeph Noctonic. He is a rock gnome artificer,
Ooh,
and he's a lot of fun to
that
play.
sounds fancy.
I have Zenkai Shu, which is my monk, Way of the Open Hand monk, human monk. And I'm sure I'm not saying that correctly, but literally I just looked up the Mandarin for Way of the Open Hand, and that's what it was. That's why I named him. I have a lot of NPCs that I had planned for our Salt Marsh campaign, which turned into a campaign called Dark Waters, which is now dead in the Dark Waters. But I have Dornan Laz, which was a fallen Asimar Death Domain cleric. And then Roland Goldpetal, which is my tiefling warlock, patron of the the fates that I play in your campaign. I had a human rogue named Braun Tiller. I don't know what he was. That was for a campaign that never came together. And then a few others that I tried to play, or wrote up to play. And Jareth, one of my first characters in 5e, Jareth, the human paladin oathbreaker.
Bless you.
Thank you.
So all of those, and then I've just got extras that I can print out for people, and then I have a lot of Nalos was a Tempest Domain cleric. Olo was a Tortle druid who showed up in my first Curse of Strahd campaign. No, I'm sorry. Zopa was the Tortle. And then I've got other guys, and then just some I just want to make because I wanted to make I just popped in level 10, made a half orc blood hunter, just to see what it was like, and it's actually a lot of fun. And then I put him up against a level 10 cleric of the Death Domain, and just on my lunch break one day I was bored, so I just rolled them against each other, and the blood hunter was really really good. So, yeah, I like creating characters. The thing about it is with Curse of Strahd, you're going to see some characters that maybe I've created, but some that I've begged, borrowed, and stole off of other sources as well as from the actual source book. But the characters and everything in Curse of Strahd, Barovia is so rich. It's just so cool. You can pretty much put anybody in there. Like, just been the roll of the dice when you all are walking through the woods. You all have just met a bunch of wolves, but there are other creatures in there. Some that are friendly and most that are not. So you've met wolves and zombies so far. And
Strahd twice.
And Strahd twice, but that was a calculated move. And a swarm of bats.
Third time we're taking them down.
At level 4.
And a vampire like
The vampire spawn in the
on.
church. Yeah, he was a sad case right there. But
Yeah.
yeah, and that's what got you your
My inspiration,
your
yeah.
inspiration was because you actually decided to spare him. What was that's the other thing I meant to ask you. What was your if that's something you want to talk about? We're talking like the campaign's over. It's not. It's nowhere near over. It's just begun, really. But what was? I just want to. I want to touch on your brain. What was your thought process behind that?
So it was kind of twofold. One, he seemed to be backing down, and obviously, I'm not going to leave something with the vampiric gene unattended. But also, while we were poking around, including up until when we opened that trap door, Father Donovich was so adamant that we not open that door. Like he was being evasive about what was down there. So clearly it was either something he was ashamed of or something he was protecting.
Right.
And it was both.
It was both.
Yeah. So I call it a hunch, call it a gut feeling. Like even before I asked him who it was, I figured it was his son. Like they're very that The Walking Dead all the way back to season 1 with I think it's Carol whose daughter goes missing in season 1 and they find as a zombie in the barn.
That's season 2, I think, at the farm.
Yep.
Right at the beginning.
Yeah. It was, but I mean, that gut reaction of even though you know they are probably beyond saving, it's your kid.
Yeah.
So that if it doesn't work, Enoch was probably going to kill him the next round.
Right.
And fortunately, I rolled really high on my D4s or D8s or whatever they are.
Yeah.
And I never did get the chance to ask you how close I was to failing on that.
Close.
And it was just if this works, it works. If it doesn't, we're gonna solve the problem anyway.
Right.
In game, I'm gonna justify it as Ellen Teal thought the goddess Arl told her that there was another solution.
Yeah, I mean, totally. You could have just kept that to yourself, and I've been like, "Hey, yeah, cool."
Yeah, but I mean, like, so much of how I play this game is my personality. For people who don't know me, I am very much pop culture references are my main means of communication. And so that pieces of pop culture that have had a major impact on my life roll over into how I play the game. Like I've got a character who is straight up the main character from a book series that I'm reading.
Right.
With a couple of minor shifts, one to make her work in D&D and two to make her so that I can role play with her. I'm not locked into the book. But it's all about how you play the game. If you bring what you're passionate about into the game, then you're going to have fun.
Yep.
Absolutely. I completely believe that. But real quick, let's take a Jacob, take us through your notes. And I've never seen, like, His note taking is immaculate.
Guys, I'm gonna have to take a quick break on this, so
Okay.
I'll be right back.
Okay.
All right.
Problem.
So basically what you guys are looking at on stream is just my notes. It's not perfect. I don't write everything down word for word. But it's enough that, especially in a digital version like this, where like I didn't have Father Donovich just like stored in my memory banks. Like I Control F searched the word father and went through the search hits till I found the guy's name.
Right.
But it's important things, NPC names, descriptions of them.
Right.
Like if you scroll down to session 2, I think it's session 2. No, I think it's session 3. Yeah, session 3 where we met Radu.
Yeah.
I also put just small questions to myself. Like I put where I go Radu Radovich, and then in parentheses I have pimp ?
Right.
And then I have he said that he travels the land and that he's one with the land, so I put that next to that. And then like last session, I put the dream that I had. And I made a note that this was the second night that I've had this dream. And then the further you scroll down, I get into, and this is where I try to get into the word for word stuff because the devil's in the details.
Right.
The Madam Eva's
Readings.
visions for each of us.
Mm-hmm.
Each of those are in there as close to word for word as I could get them. And then even all the way at the bottom, you've got the a 3x5 square that is the table that she was flipping the cards out on, and the positioning that they were in, because I don't know if that positioning is going to be important or not. I feel like it probably will be because you were very specific about where each of these cards was laid out.
Mm-hmm.
And I know enough about tarot in the real world to know that the positioning of the cards is important in the reading as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it's as much detail as you can get without losing your enjoyment for the game.
Yeah.
Is the key detail. And writing it is a lot. I've found written notes I don't care for as much as typed notes. Now having typed notes, this is the first campaign I've ever done the digital Google Doc for notes.
Sure.
But I do like notes are important. They save lives, and the first campaign that I ever did them in was Dragon Heist.
Mm-hmm.
And I took detailed notes that entire campaign. And when it first came into being, like where it became critically relevant, was Dad threw Blue Alley in there as a side adventure.
Right.
And in Blue Alley, I don't know who's played it and who hasn't, but it refers to a location in relation to other landmarks in Blue Alley. And I'm like, so I'm sitting there and I wrote this down, and my DM's describing this, what we're seeing to us, and I go, hold on, and I start flipping back through my notes to the beginning of Blue Alley, and find this, and I go, okay, guys, I think this is the door we're looking for. And of course, it turned out to be the door we were looking for. This was like 4 weeks after we had started Blue Alley. We were a month in, playing once a week.
Right.
And just because I had deemed that important enough to put it in my notes, we were able to save ourselves some serious time.
Right.
And like, if you look at my notes, they are chaotic, they're messy, but there's enough information there for anybody who's looking at them, who's in the game with us, to know what they're talking about.
Right.
I mean, your notes do not have to be a word-for-word transcript of the session. They don't have to make any sense to anybody outside of your party. And realistically, they don't have to make any sense to anybody outside of the note taker. But if you're sharing them with the party, it's kind of helpful for them to know what the heck you're talking about. So like this Google Doc is shared with the entire party. That way they can see them in session as I'm writing things down. They can do the Control F to search. And the big thing now for what I feel like is going to be the next several sessions is going to be that table with the tarot cards and the crystal ball reading that Madam Eva gave each of us.
I will say that the crystal ball reading was personal.
Yeah,
I didn't pick that up.
Yeah, I picked that up with me because, like, obviously you and I have talked in great length about my character.
Right.
So I picked up on some stuff there. I went, oh yeah, okay.
Right. But, well, I will tell you this. I think an hour and a half of listening to me jabber and listen to you all actually make sense is enough. I will let you go. I appreciate you all sticking around, even though we didn't play tonight, and answering my questions and talking to me. And we will unfortunately not have Kenny next week.
Maybe
not.
Maybe.
But maybe you will. Maybe we will. But we will be playing session 5 next week, as long as everything goes well. And we will we'll pick it up there, and then we can make Jacob take some more notes again that will not make any sense to anyone else but us, which is how it's supposed to be. Yep. But with that, we're going to end the stream, and you all have a good night. And